Hello grade 3, welcome to our new science session. Today we will complete unit 9, lesson 4, what are some changes to matter. Let's get started. As we studied last time, we have something which is called a mixture and another thing which is called a solution, and we studied the difference between both of them. And then we moved to another point, which is a physical property. Do you remember what is a physical property? Which is a characteristic that we can measure or observe. And then we moved to physical changes. What are physical changes? They do not form new substance or new kind of matter like mixtures and solutions. Today we will study how to separate a mixture. We can separate a mixture using its properties. Like what? Like this bowl of fruit salad. How can we separate this mixture? Which property can help us in this separation? Here in this mixture we have a lot of fruits like mango, oranges, berries, grapes, strawberries. Let's talk about mango. Mango remains mango when you put it in a salad. It's still the same. I can recognize it, but it's in different size, smaller size, so I can separate by its size. Another one, in a cup of tea, sugar is inside the tea, inside the solution, but can I see it? No, but I can taste it. I can feel the taste of sugar when I start drinking my tea, so it's still here. In a mixture, each kind of matter keeps its identity. Do you remember this point? This is because making a mixture is a physical change. You can separate a mixture using a physical property of its part. What do we mean by this? Like the property of size, color, floating or sinking, evaporation, melting, condensation, any physical property from the ones we already studied. Which physical properties can we use to separate a mixture? The first one. Let's have a look here. We have many kinds of matter, many objects here. We can use the physical property of float and sink to separate this mixture. Get all these matter and throw them in water. The ones will float and these ones, the others will sink. The ones up will float and others will sink. So here you start separating this mixture. Another physical property. Here we used the size property. Matter which are small will pass through the holes, but what about the large ones? The big ones will stay up in the top. So the size property here helps us separate this mixture. Why? Because the small parts will pass and get down from these holes, and the other ones which are large will stay up. Another example is the magnet. Do you know a magnet? What does it pick? It picks up matter that contains iron, that has metal. But what about plastic and wood? Can the magnet attract them? Of course not. So we can separate a mixture of many kinds of matter like wood, plastic, silicon, iron. We can make a mixture of all of these and use a magnet only to pick up iron. The others will remain away from the magnet. What about this physical property? It's evaporation. How does this happen? How can they get all this big amount of salt? This happens by evaporation. Do you remember evaporation? It's the change of liquid to gas. This happens to salt water. The heat of the sun heats and warms the water, the salt water, so the liquid flies up, changes into water vapor, and the salt, which is solid, cannot fly, will stay down. So evaporation helps here in separating salt and water by the heat of the sun. This was about physical changes and physical properties, but we have another kind of changes that can happen to matter, which is called chemical change. What is a chemical change and what happens during a chemical change? In a chemical change, new kinds of matter are formed. How does this happen? Have you ever seen this? It's disgusting. Can we eat an egg like this? Can we eat these strawberries? Of course not. Why? Because new matter, which is not good, it's not healthy, it's not tasty, formed here, and we cannot move it back as it was. Can you move the strawberry back to be fresh and nice? Of course not. So it's not a physical change here, it's a chemical change. Why? Because new kind of matter is formed. This one, this bad one. So in a chemical change, new kinds of matter are formed. Some chemical changes can be reversed using chemical means. What is the meaning of this? Have you ever seen this? This is called rusting, and rusting happens to metals like iron. Here these nails are getting rusty. Also this mailbox, it has rust here. It's a chemical change. We cannot move it back because new substance is formed here, but in some cases some scientists could move them back using chemical means. Of course we do not have these chemical means at home, so we cannot change these back as they were. Other chemical changes like the color of some leaves. We studied before in grade 1 and 2 that some trees change their leaf colors in fall, and this is a chemical change. Why? Because we cannot move these back to be green, and new kind of matter will be formed. How? A leaf is still a leaf. No, because when this leaf is getting on the floor, they drop off the tree, getting down, and decomposers, if you remember, eat them and they move to the soil, so they form new kind of matter. So it's a chemical change. Here we have another chemical change. It happens to wood when it burns. New kind of matter is formed here, ash and smoke. So it's a chemical change. Can we move the wood back as it was? Of course not. Here is the wood. Wood burns, new kinds of matter, which is ash, smoke, and charcoal are formed. So we cannot move it back as it was. Chemical changes also happen in our bodies. How? After a scab knee stopped bleeding, here you have blood. When this bleeding stops, a scab begins to form this layer up, and it's a new kind of matter. So you have a chemical change here after this new matter is formed. Also, chemical changes happen with the food which we eat inside our bodies. How does this happen? Suppose you eat any fruit, an apple, an orange, kiwi, strawberry, any food or any fruit. What happens inside your body? Your body starts to digest the apple or the food which you eat, and chemical changes break into simpler substances that your body can use. Your body cannot use the apple as it is, as a big part or even smaller pieces. So the body starts to digest, starts to analyze or make it something which is so simple, like juice or liquid inside your body, so your body can use it. So it's a chemical change. You cannot move the apple or any food back as it was. Here we have other chemical changes like these ingredients. Do you know how can your mom use these? Yeah, to make a cake. Can we move this delicious cake back as it was? Of course not. Your mom starts mixing all these ingredients together to form one new matter. A new substance or a new matter is formed, which is the cake. So it's a chemical change. I have another chemical change here which we all like, which is, oh, I like it so much. I know that all of you like burgers, especially Mac. Me also, I like it so much. So which kind of change happens inside this delicious sandwich? The bread and even the burger inside it. It's a chemical change. Here we cannot move this piece of burger as it was. It's made of meat, but we cannot move it as it was. Also, this bread, we cannot move it back as it was. It's made of flour, water, and many things. We cannot move it back as it was, so it forms one new matter, which is the bread. It's a chemical change. Let's solve this together. The first one, is it physical or chemical? This salad, it expresses a physical change because we can separate this. We can recognize each of these parts. No new matter is formed. The second one, here, the string in this candle, here, this burned part up. Chemical or physical? Of course it is chemical. Another one, the juice. Physical or chemical? Of course it is physical. It's a solution, and mixtures and solutions are physical changes. I know that especially boys like to make these shapes with paper. Does it represent physical or chemical change? Of course it is a physical change. Thank you so much, grade 3. That's all for today, and see you next time. Goodbye.